Hello there, welcome to my channel. My name is Allison. I am the Caffeinated Creative. I love everything art, planners, journals, and all the things between. If you're new, I'm super glad you found me. I hope you stick around, and if you're returning, thank you so much for coming back. So today I'm going to do something a little different. I thought it would be fun for me to share my top 20-ish journaling supplies, and as I talk about them, I thought I would use them. Yay! So if you're interested in that, stick around. So the first thing I want to start with is stuff I often use for backgrounds. So my top background supplies are watercolors, stuff in order to activate said watercolors, and a cool thing called color bursts. Okay, so I'm going to start using those. So I love this little mini mister. I got this at Michael's. I'm sure you guys have seen them around. I think they even have them on Amazon and stuff. The reason why I love them is because they just give such a small amount of water, which for things that water activate is really helpful. I do have larger spray bottles that I sometimes use, but these misters just, I think, are a great tool, and that's why they're one of my top tools. So these I love. These are called color bursts. This is particularly Ken Oliver color bursts. And the cool thing about them is literally they do what they say, right? So if you are really not sure where to start, I love to use these to just experiment. And the thing is that you don't always know what you're going to get, but that's kind of the fun of it. So as you can see here, like this just activated, and there's some blue, there's some brown, and these I just think are so fun, and I can't think of anything that is like this. I'm sure there's other versions of this on the market, but that idea of like a water activated coloring kind of sand is just neat. So that's why it's one of my tops, and I hope I can get some more in my life. My next favorite thing is an old sock. Oh yeah. Now, this doesn't look like a sock because it's no longer a sock, but if you have that one sock that you really enjoy and like, but you can't find its pair, I have many of these. What I like to do is turn them into little towels. So I'm using my old sock to sop up some of this water. So that's my number 3, is literally just an old towel, an old t-shirt, something to sop up the water, because every time I start getting creative, I realize I need to sort of clean stuff up. So one of my next favorite tools is a heat dryer. I just used it to dry this page off quite a bit. So I didn't want you to have to hear it, but definitely one of my tops. Then of course, watercolor. Now with watercolor, I personally think it's really helpful to have some watercolor brushes. Not expensive ones. Mine are not expensive, and I'll link everything I have below if I can. But basically, brushes dedicated to watercolor. So these are my watercolor brushes. I got these all on Jet Pens. They're all the same brand. They're like Zen. They're called Zen. Royal and Langnickel. Anyways, I'll put them below. But the reason why I never used to have a dedicated watercolor brush set, I used to think that was kind of like unnecessary. But the thing that's really important, I find, is that watercolor brushes are built, even if they're not super expensive, to hold more water. So they give you a much different effect. And then the other thing I really think is important about having dedicated watercolor brushes is that you're not going to mix them with other mediums. So while we're on the topic of brushes, so this is one of my favorite tools, watercolor brushes. But my other 2 tools that are aligned to this are brushes, but used brushes is one. So these are completely used brushes. And the reason why I like using used brushes is because you can get completely different looks. So for example, I'm going to grab this paint, and rather than getting like a brushed effect, I can get like a lined effect. Like it's a completely different look. So if you ever, you know, don't clean your brush and you think, oh, I ruined it, don't throw it away, use it. You can get different marks from different styles of dirty brush, essentially. So those used brushes are really a favorite tool of mine. And then the other, again, used brushes, the other is cheap brushes. So for me personally, when I use paint, like acrylic paint, I'm not very good at keeping great care of my brushes. So I actually like to use cheap brushes for my acrylic paint so that I don't have to worry so much if I like get really engrossed in something and forget to clean it right away. You know, it just gives me peace of mind to know I didn't spend a lot of money. And the other thing that I really like about using more like cheap brushes is I just have a bunch of them, you know, and then they go into the used pile once I've abused them. So cheap brushes, at least this is my tip, cheap brushes for glue, acrylic, all that stuff that kind of can harden and makes it difficult to use the brush versus really expensive acrylic brushes. And then once they are in that kind of dirty, dirty zone, then keep them and use them for different types of mark making. Now, I don't think I'm gonna, well, maybe I will. Give me 1 second. Okay, I am back and I got a little bit of water and I am gonna use my watercolor. And my favorite watercolors probably, I mean, I have a few different types. I like to try new supplies and such, but the Prima marketing watercolors I think work pretty well and they're generally pretty affordable. So I have quite a few different tins. Like this is the Odyssey, which I think is, you know, really pretty. I have other ones as well. So I like these types of sort of small sets where I can get some, you know, cool colors. So I do recommend, oh look, see, I didn't clean this brush very well. And that's the other, see, because I don't clean my brushes very well, it's good to have dedicated watercolor brushes. So I'm just gonna do like a little bit of watercolor here over this. But I like to layer paint. So I always find that really fun. Okay, so that's a little bit of watercolor, but yeah, I know some folks are kind of afraid of watercolor, and my best advice is get watercolor brushes, even if you just have one. Like this size is a really nice size if you're doing backgrounds because it holds so much water, you know, and put some watercolor on the page and then walk away. Like if you see a pool of water, just walk away, let it dry, see what it does. It's hard for folks to do. I know it's hard. It was hard for me to do initially. Like I felt like I needed to keep activating the watercolor, but you don't. If you want that sort of pooly look, like I think I actually have it, see like this pooly look, which I personally really like. The key is to not mess with it too much. Okay, anyways, I'm digressing here. So we've gone over quite a few of my favorite tools. Now we're going to transition into a few other mark makers that are really important to me. Probably my favorite tool of all these is whiteout. Just plain old school whiteout. The reason why I love whiteout is because A, it covers over all of my mistakes, which I do of course make all the time, but I also love it because it's like such an easy way to add a weird texture to stuff. It's just like so multi-purpose and it's just here, right? So oh my gosh, I love it. I get my my whiteout at the dollar store. I highly recommend getting some old school whiteout. And then for glue, my favorite glue is this CrafBond, ELMER'S CrafBond Extra Strength. But I don't really have strong opinions about glue. I also don't have strong opinions about scissors. It's usually whatever is closest to me, quite honestly. I'm gonna excuse my reach here. But in the spirit of using what I'm suggesting, I'm going to, this was just like a little page flag that was literally right in front of my face. And I'm just going to glue it on. So the reason why I like this particular CrafBond is because it does seem to stick pretty well. Like it stays stuck, I guess you could say. but it's also not too expensive or anything. So I've enjoyed that. But I've also liked the Amazon brand. So any glue stick is really my preferred way to stick things down in my journal. And then, of course, a Uni-Ball Signo. This is a Uni-Ball Signo, obviously in white. It says UM151. Again, I'll try to link everything. But the reason why I love the Uni-Ball Signo is, again, because of that, like, fix factor, right? It'll fix things, cover things up. But also, it's the only white pen that I've found that actually, like, works in terms of when I want to draw with white. It seems to pretty much stick, you know, in terms of it's got some good coverage. I mean, not always, like oftentimes it might pick up the color behind it, but for me, it's definitely my favorite white pen. I buy them sort of, I guess you could say, in bulk, or I buy a bunch at a time, and when they run out, I buy more. I don't even mess with other white pens. Okay, so the next on the pen theme, my favorite markers. My favorite markers are the Mildliner brush pens. I like the Mildliner color range. I'm sure many of you are familiar with it, but the brush pens are a little bit more pricey, but to me, they're more versatile because I find them really easy to color with. This is kind of a dried one. I almost need new ones, but you can also like letter with them, right? Because they're brush pens, but they also have that dual tip that the Mildliner with the chisel tip has. So I really like the Mildliner brush pens. I feel like these are really great for me, especially when I want that like milder look, color-wise, I mean. And my absolute favorite pen for lettering in my journal, and I want more colors of these actually, I don't even know how many they have, but it's the Kelly Creates Dream Pen. I've seen mixed reviews on these, but for me, they are the best because look at how small. I don't know if you can see how small that is, but I really like that small tip because especially if you're working small, like in this case, this is an A6, and even in a cousin or, you know, journals tend to be small. So I like the big Tombos. I can't brush letter with Tombos. They're too fat. But like here, I mean, this is even pretty big in terms of the letter. But I just wrote friend. But like you can get pretty small with it. So I really like these Kelly Create pens for brush lettering. Kelly Creates, plural. Oh, and it is dual tipped. So there's also the fat side, which I don't use as nearly as much as the small side. Okay. And next up, continuing with pens, is, oh, this is blue. I meant to get the pink one. Oh, well, it's okay. So my favorite fountain pen, I went on a little fountain pen journey, and now I've decided that I really like these ones, and these are the ones I'm going to keep getting if I decide to get more, which I may not. But in terms of like a nice, thick, like juicy kind of line, so to speak, I really like the TWSBI Echo. These I have had two, and both of them work fabulous, and they hold a ton of ink. So in terms of like, I think they're medium tip too. I like a little bit of a thicker line. The TWSBI Echo is my favorite fountain pen, with the exception of these bad boys. These are pens that I never have seen on, I don't watch a lot of them, but I did go through a period where I was watching a lot of introduction to fountain pen kind of videos, and these were never on them. These are, I always forget, Hongdian, and it says the Light of Hope. I will link it in below, but it is they're Amazon, or I get them on Amazon. And the thing I like about them is they're under $20. I think they're around $15. They come with the converter. They're a really nice weight for me. I really like, they're not too heavy. And I really like the line. So, for example, when I want to write words with a fountain pen, I tend to use this one. I have a few of them, actually. So in terms of actually writing versus mark making, I really like using these pens, and I recommend them as a starter pen at least. I mean, I've kind of gone full hog with this one, but check them out. And in that pen, so in all of my like writing pens, I use this Noodlers Lexington gray. Now, I got a few other Noodlers inks, and I got sick of them. Honestly, I didn't like them. They didn't dry. But this one is really great because it is rather waterproof. You have to make sure it really, really dries. But once it really, really dries, it really does stay pretty water fast. So you can see in places in my journal, like I've used it here. Like I just really, for me, it's one of my favorite writing inks. And then not last, two actual papers for printing on that I really like. You've heard me, I'm sure, talk about them before. But my matte full sheet laser inkjet clear labels. I love printing on these. This might be my favorite. But my tried and true are labels that are not clear, or they are just online labels, standard white matte label sheets. I really like to print on these because I feel like it makes my life a lot easier. I have to spend less time trying to glue things down, and I feel like it also reduces the bulk, even though my journals already get super fat no matter what I do. And what I print on these papers are printables. So this is my last favorite thing. My favorite thing, especially in the past, I would say 8 months in my journaling, has been subscribing to folks on Patreon in order to support them and get printables. So I'll link some of my favorites below. If you've seen any of my videos, I talk about them all the time, but printables have been a really fun addition, and they're such a quick and easy way to add images essentially to your journal. So like this Friday was from PocketJournalPam. This 19 is from Courtney Diaz, Little Raven Ink. And then I have so many printables. It's almost ridiculous. But I do tend to print them almost exclusively on the paper you just saw, so that they are ready to stick. Not always. Sometimes I run out and I get really sad and then I have to print it on regular paper. But if I can, I do always try to print it on something that is sticky. So let's... trying to think of... I just want to find one little thing to sort of put a focal image, even though I know this is more about the supplies than the page, but it is kind of fun to see the page come to life, at least in my opinion, with the supplies I'm talking about. So I hope this has been kind of interesting. I always find it very interesting to see what supplies people actually use. So that's why I wanted to share with you guys the supplies I actually use. And the one thing I will say in closing is you don't have to spend a lot of money. Now, you might say, yeah, but you just showed us all this stuff that costs a lot of money. So I understand that that's like a little bit hypocritical of me to say, but I also want you to know that I've been collecting these supplies for years and years and years, at least 4 years, at least. So it's not like I went out and bought everything in one go. And the part of the reason I want to share this all with you is because a lot of what I showed you is not hard to find and is not super duper expensive. Does it cost money? Yes. But is it out of the realm of everyone's budget? Like, you know, only Kim Kardashian can afford it? No, at least I don't think so. So hopefully oh, here we go. We'll put this little lady down here. Hopefully you have found this interesting. And I would love to see the supplies you use for sure. Thank you so much for watching. Do you like this kind of stuff? I'm curious. It's not like my normal videos, but I thought it'd be fun. Ooh, that's the one thing though. That Lexington gray, it takes a while to dry. And I think because it was on top of the acrylic, it really did not want to dry. So I'm going to have to cover that up with some washi. Anyways, I hope you guys are doing really, really well. I hope you enjoyed this. And let me know if you have any questions. Bye.